Okay, so next I'd like you to be introduced to our panel. This is our panel for today. It is our Women in Industry panel. And when we were selecting our panelists and asking them to attend, we really wanted to bring together a cross section of industry. I would say typical male dominated industries to get you to meet these women who have faced barriers, invisible barriers, and have been able to challenge them to be successful. So I would like to hand you over now to Laura James from our Talent Attraction team and Caroline Collins, Partnerships and Engagement Manager at Enactors UK. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Claire. Thank you so much for introducing us. And yes, welcome everybody to our Women in Industry panel. As Claire quite rightly said, my name is Laura James and I'm part of the Talent Acquisition team. And Caroline, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Welcome everybody, and thank you for having me. I feel like Claire's already introduced me. I am the Partnership and Engagement Manager at Enactors UK, which is a social enterprise charity. I can see a couple of our students on the call, which is fantastic. So we operate in 65 different UK universities, and we aim to address the UN Sustainable Development Goals, as well as providing you guys with lots of employability opportunities from our partner organisations, such as Enterprise. So it is an absolute pleasure to join you on the call today.
Great, thank you, Caroline. I can already see so many fantastic questions coming through, and as we go through the next hour's panel event, we will be using the question and answer box, so please do keep submitting the questions you want to ask to our lovely panel. The ladies that we have with us today have been incredibly successful in their careers. They do come from numerous different industries, from engineering, manufacturing, automotive, tech, and I'm sure they're ready to give you some nuggets of their own experience and some help and support as you start to look into your own career.
Brilliant. Shall we begin then, Laura?
Yes, please. Do you want to go through and introduce?
Of course. So, Nabila, I don't know if you want to start by just briefly introducing yourself to everybody.
Sure, absolutely. Hi, everyone, and happy International Women's Day. I'm Nabila, president of Revelant Group, one of the world's fastest growing talent creation companies focusing on Salesforce and AWS. And my career spans about 15 years in technology based in the UK and the US. I was the first female VP and the youngest to be appointed VP at the former FTSE 250 company I used to work for. And it's something I often share just because it's a lonely place to be when you're the only one there. But today I lead a business where 63% of employees identify as Black, Asian or minority ethnic, and 50% of the senior management team are of whom are working moms. So diversity and inclusion is something I've always been incredibly.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. That is incredible. Nikki, I don't know if you could introduce yourself as well.
Hello everybody, happy International Women's Day. So my name's Nikki Simpson. I'm the Commercial Director for Enterprise Flexi Rent, and I've been in the fleet industry for 25 years, and I've seen lots of positive changes and improvements over the years. But I don't think when I started back in the industry back in the day, we would have had a day like today where we're bringing everybody together and inspiring each other, and it's really great to be involved. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Nikki. That's wonderful. Sarah, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, hi, happy International Women's Day. Yeah, my name's Sarah Blacksmith. I work for Siemens in Congleton. My title is Head of Factory Operations, so I lead the production and engineering in Congleton. And I've been with Siemens for my whole career, so I've been with them for 19 years. And 10 years I was in Lincoln, and yeah, 9 years in Congleton. When I first started in Congleton, there was no women on the senior management team, and now we're up to 40%. So we're getting there. We're getting much better than what we were.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sarah. And then last but not least, Evelyn, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. Has a happy International Women's Day. I can't not say it, everyone else has. I work for Nestle. I'm head of the academy, so look after anything to do with youth in our business. I've been at Nestle for 20 years. I actually joined on their graduate program in sales and marketing. which is where I found myself, I guess, first in my career in quite a male-dominated environment. But since then, I've moved into HR. I've now been in HR for 12 years. But again, there were times within my career in HR where I have been kind of in the minority. Firstly, as a factory HR business partner, where when I first arrived at the factory, I was told that I was looking after the old man of the factory, which was our process department where we made our coffee, and basically all bar one within that whole department were male. And then I've also been the HR business partner for our sales team as part of the leadership team there. And again, on a team of 18 people, but only 2 women. So yeah, been with Nestlé, like I say, 20 years. Became a mum last year, which was the best moment of my life, but has changed my world completely, as you can imagine. So really looking forward to being part of today's panel. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for those introductions. We did get to see a sneak peek of Evelyn's child earlier today, and it was very cute, I can assure you all. So sorry you missed that. But just quickly before we get into the questions, I can see a lot of messages in the chats. If you do want to ask us a question, please pop it in the Q&A section. We'll try and get through as many as possible, like Laura said, but if you could upvote the ones that you think are most exciting, the ones that you really are desperate to have an answer for, then please do let us know in the Q&A. So Hayley, I'm so sorry I didn't introduce you, but that is because you delivered such a fantastic keynote speech, and I was inspired, so I'm sure the students on the call were inspired as well. But I think one question that I would really love to ask, and something I was thinking about that you mentioned earlier, is really as the students start to think about their early careers, do you think you would be able to identify for us maybe one thing that you did in your early career that had the biggest impact on where you are today?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. When I look back, I definitely think that I did quite a lot of things right. I was really fortunate because I was put in really good positions, but I did a lot of things right. I think, to be honest, it's really fitting that I'm going to say this because of what we're doing today. It's showing up for things like this and actually getting involved in some of the things that are offered to you. So I remember when I was, in first year of uni, I was definitely not interested in turning up to events. I missed out on loads of opportunities to network with people. It was actually in second year when I started to take more interest, met other people, connect with other students who had done some other amazing things because of opportunities that employers had been given them. So I think this is actually a really key thing, like making the most of these kind of spaces, connecting with people on LinkedIn, chatting to them, asking the questions that you really want to know, and showing up and not just, I guess, sitting in the background and not taking on board what people are saying, because you don't even know how much this might help you later on, or when you start actually entering the workplace. It might not all seem relevant, but trust me, it is.
That's fantastic advice. Thank you, Hayley. And that's something that we talk about a lot when we go into universities from a talent attraction perspective. Get involved. If you're going to come, do something with it. And especially that LinkedIn comment as well. I think, hopefully we'll all have lots more of connections after today's event. Nabila, I know that you said in our earlier conversation that you also had something in your early career that you felt had made a difference to where you are now. Would you care to share that?
Yes, Laura. To me, what stands out as having made a difference is embracing opportunity. I was asked to relocate to New York to help grow the business in North America, and it was daunting. Yes, absolutely. And I think, another thing early on in my career was when I was asked to head people operations in North America with no background in HR whatsoever. So I was thinking, Lord, I don't even know if I can do this. But I thought, right, what's the worst that can happen? At best, I'll succeed and learn something new. I'll learn that it's not for me. So I think challenging myself and embracing opportunity has helped me immensely in my career. And I think, some always, work hard, become a trusted member, and focus on what matters, delivering results. If you're asked to help other departments, go for it. Go above and beyond, because if you can make a difference, and that's how you build sponsors that will help you progress in your career.
Thank you, Nabila. I think that's a really interesting point about making those connections and building those bridges. I think one of the questions that we've just had through in the chat. And Sarah, I'd love to direct this at you, just thinking about your experience of, you know, that 19 years in your industry, and talking about how you've got 40% of women on the leadership panel. One of the questions that we've had come through that has been quite a popular one is, how do you promote women's participation in a sector where they are so underrepresented?
Yeah, good question. I think we're doing a lot better at it than we have been previously. I mean, if I think back to when I was at uni, and on my course, I think there was 6 women out of about 100 on the course, and it just wasn't part of, you know, it wasn't advertised, it wasn't encouraged. And I think we do a lot more of that now, you know, in terms of promoting engineering and STEM topics anyway to school children and stuff. I've literally just come off a call where we've done an hour with one of the local high schools in Congleton and to doing things like this. I mean, we never used to do that when I was at school. Yeah, so I think, yeah, more of stuff like this, you know, raise people, you know, put people, you know, raise people up and showcase different people and have the role models, because again, there was no role models for any of these positions. I mean, well, certainly not in my industry when I first started. So yeah, the more that we can sort of highlight people getting to these positions and also managing to balance it. I mean, I haven't got kids, but like, I know, you know, how challenging it must be for people who do have children and balancing that. And it's sort of telling stories, I think, is one of the best ways to engage people.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, that's so true. I mean, I do have children, so I can say, yes, it can certainly be a challenge, I think, especially in the last 12 months. And that brings us really nicely to you, Evie, if you wouldn't mind kind of giving us a bit of insight from your perspective, maybe on obviously what it's been like with a successful career, but also having that aspect of a family as well.
Yeah, so well, I guess I kind of had Jeremiah later on in life, if you like. So I'm 41 now, and you know, up until I had Jeremiah, work was my life. You know, I lived away from my family because I moved away when I got on Nestlé's graduate program. And don't get me wrong, I still saw my family and still saw friends, but I really put all of my effort, if you like, into work. And then I'd got to the point in my life where I thought, do you know what, I'm fine on my own. I don't need a man. You know, I'm fine. I don't, you know, if I have kids, I have kids, and I just kind of let it all go. And then, would you believe it, by chance, I met Jerry, my partner, literally just by sheer coincidence. And you know, we've been together nearly 4 years now. Jeremiah, our son, is coming up to 18 months, and he's all I've ever dreamed of. You know, I've always wanted to be a mother. And last year, the thought of going back to work was really hard. You know, I found it harder than I thought I would, given how work had been such a huge part of my life for so long, and I'd always loved what I did, and I was so passionate about work. And I'll be really honest, when it came to me coming back, I was really not looking forward to it. And the thought of putting Jeremiah into nursery was just heartbreaking. I've been back at work almost 6 months now. I am loving what I'm doing. I love the job that I'm in. I am passionate about making a difference to people's lives. It drives me, it gets me up out of bed in the morning. And I want to make a different world for my son as well. So my partner's black, so our son is, you know, mixed. And that is like I say, that's what drives me. How do I balance it? I don't know that I found the balance, if I'm honest. But how do I juggle it is what I'd say. And I think the first thing I'd say is Jeremiah comes first. Now, that is it, without a shadow of a doubt. I try and look at everything as choices rather than I must or I should. Everything I do is a conscious choice, which feels far more empowering rather than you being a victim to what's happening. And, you know, I feel like I am a better mother to Jeremiah because of the balance now that I have in my life and that I am working. And he gets so much from being at nursery. But equally, you know, Jerry, his dad, is a chef. So on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Jeremiah is with his dad. here at home, and clearly I'm here too, so that can be a little distracting, but it's great as well because I get to have little hugs partway through the day. So I do feel, although COVID has been challenging and I did feel a little bit robbed of part of my maternity leave, actually, you know, I have been very fortunate because I've been able to spend more time with Jeremiah than I would have done had the world been normal. And I think, you know, the world of work now will change, I think, going forward. So I'm hoping that there is more balance. But I think my reflection on it would be, you know, see things as choices and just acknowledge how you feel at the point in time. And there's no easy route through it, and there isn't a fast forward, but you do come out the other side. And it's just, well, for me, it's been the most rewarding thing in my life so far. So yeah, there we go.
Thank you. That is a wonderful answer. And one of the things that you mentioned was about feeling empowered by our choices, which is such a wonderful way to look at things. And one of the questions that we've had, there are quite a few men on this call, which is wonderful. And thank you so much for joining us. And one of the most popular questions is, as a male, what is the most important thing that I can do to help empower women in the workplace? And I'd be really interested to hear your views on this. Nikki, I don't know if you want to kick off the answering for this one.
I mean, that's a great question, and thank you for joining us. And I think probably the greatest thing people can do, whether it's a male or a female, is listen. So allow somebody a voice, allow someone to take part and to give them confidence to speak. And I've heard someone say before, when you come into a room, you want people to want you to come into a room because they know you will empower them and you will give them a voice and you will make them feel important. You don't want to be the person in the room that people don't want to be there, because they know that you won't give them the opportunity, you won't hear their voice. And I think for all of us, it's really important that a team dynamic is great, but that dynamic only works if you allow people the confidence to have a voice, have an opinion, and to share their ideas and really empower them in that way. And I think and there is a situation where, and women, especially when they're starting out and in a dominated industry, especially when I started in Fleet, it was very dominated by men, and it probably still is to this day. And you're often the only person in the room. You're often the only person, or very few people in an event. And I've been at events where there's tables full of men and you're lucky to get one woman per table there. And I think the best thing you can do is engage and give everybody that power and everybody that voice. And I think that's, whether that's a man to a woman, I think that's the most important thing you can do.
I was just going to say, can I just build on what Nikki's just said? Because I agree with everything you've said, Nikki. I think the other build that I would have is certainly an experience that I've had, and certainly talking to one of my female role models as well, one of the challenges she's had, and certainly I've seen time and time again in meetings, is as a woman, sometimes you'll make a point, or you'll give a view or an expression or a decision or a recommendation, and it's not heard. And then the conversation will go around the room a little bit, and then a man, maybe slightly more senior, will reword exactly what you said and claim it as their suggestion, and everyone agrees. And it is like so frustrating, because you're sat there thinking, God, did I just not say that? But like, no one listened to me, and that person just said it and everyone's listened to them, and you kind of scratch your head thinking, well, what is it? Why was that? So I think if ever you are in a situation where you either catch yourself doing that, that's great that you recognize it in yourself, so acknowledge it. But equally, if ever you're in a meeting and you kind of see that happening, is okay, it might take a little bit of bravery, but maybe just step in and say, I've just noticed this, and almost play the observation back to the room, because all of this is small behavioural changes that make the difference. There isn't one thing that's going to change it overnight. So if you can do that, that would be hugely powerful.
And I think about how you're going to say it. So it's like the old saying, isn't it? You can say anything, and if you say it with confidence, the person will believe you. And you can be totally correct, but say it very timidly or not sound convincing yourself, and you don't sound believable. So I think there's always a little onus on ourselves as well to think about how we're presenting ourselves and how we present the point. So I think as well on that point, it's an excellent point, but we also stop yourself and think about that and think, how did you present what you were going to say, and have some confidence. You know, you really need that confidence to present your point.
Did you want to jump in there, Sarah?
No, I was just going to say, I think it's really difficult, isn't it? Because Evelyn, when you said that, if you hear someone saying it, you're almost like, am I going to sound really petty if I start saying, well, I just said that, like, you know, you sort of, yeah, you almost need someone else to help you with that. So that's where that could come in, isn't it? So that you, yeah,
no,
or even if it's a reflection after the meeting that you can follow up and, you know, get some feedback on it. You know, because I certainly, I've seen it. And I've had people talk to me about it as well as I've experienced it myself. So, but equally, you know, I do agree with Nikki's point, you know, you need to come across with conviction in how you're saying something. But if you're in an environment where you're in a minority and you might not feel comfortable, that's harder to do. So it's how you find a balance, really.
I think that gentleman's point when he said, what can we do? They could be that supporter, that they're the person we want in the room, because we know that person is going to give us that voice we wanted and to back up, like Evie, if you were the person who came up with it first, they're the person that then backs up your comment, and then that's the person you want in the room with you. That's what they can do for you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, they're absolutely fantastic points. And, you know, we can't do it alone. Nobody can do it alone. We need to have allies, and we need to have people supporting each and every one of us to get to that place of gender equality. And actually that confidence point that you made, Nikki, is so prudent, and it's so common. And it's actually one of our most commonly asked questions on the panel today. So question around kind of confidence in general and confidence in interviews and then subsequently in the early stages of your career. Nabila, do you want to jump in and give us some advice around how you could potentially gain that confidence, find that confidence?
Yeah, sure. I think confidence is an interesting thing, because at the end of the day, you know, but if we don't believe in ourselves, you know, no one else will. That's what I ask people you trust and who believe in you, you know, who elevate you and make you feel good about yourself. That advice. Don't stick around anyone who you feel is not in your career, because, you know, there will always be people out there who, you know, aren't necessarily the type of people we like to. So I would just distance myself from those people and really find who made yourself, because ultimately it's down to ourselves to find that confidence. And in interviews, I think having a mentor is actually really useful. So if you don't have a mentor, find a mentor. And a lot of people ask me, how do I find a mentor? Well, you know, it's as simple as asking. So think about who inspires you, who you trust, and who you think can give you some really good advice to sort of and do well in interviews and elevate your career, and ask the person they can be your mentor. I've had a few mentors in my career, all of whom have been men, actually, and I've asked them to be my mentor. That's how I got my mentors. So I would highly recommend you learn from others and find those people that will help you along the way, but ultimately believe in yourself.
That's great advice. Thank you, Nabila. Is there anything that you want to add on that, Hayley, with regards to kind of, you know, the confidence that you found at such an early stage, you know, heading into an old boys' school and really kind of having to get to grips with it at, you know, a stage much quicker than a lot of us would have to? Anything that you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I think two things for me, you know, doing things that scare you. I mean, people say that I'm really confident, and I think I am to a point, but I still get nervous. I just push through. And I think one of the things is recognizing that nobody is ever 100% confident. We all have confidence issues. Men have it, they just do it. But I think women are labeled as not confident. I think as I have grown in my career and as a woman, I've realized that, you know, I'm enough and I have everything that I need. And actually, sometimes it's the room I'm in that's not inclusive or that doesn't value me, or it's the organisation that I'm in or I'm working with that doesn't value me. That doesn't mean that's not a reflection on me. So sometimes we internalise a lack of confidence. We internalise that we don't fit in, or we don't look like the senior leaders in this organisation, or we don't have this. But sometimes that's actually like subtle messages that we're being told in the spaces that are around us. So I think not listening to those like little voices, whether they're in your head or coming from the messages around you, and realizing that you're more than enough. And I think the point around mentoring is really so important. I have had mentors from quite an early stage in my career, and just having somebody that can give you a little pep talk or can support you when your confidence is at a lower point is important. But I think just don't put too much pressure on yourself to be confident, because nobody fully is. People are faking it until they make it, and some people just fake their whole life like me.
Yeah. I'm sure that's not the case, but yeah, confidence does seem to be this mythical kind of, you know, ability that other people have and you never manage to gain yourself. I know this is very true of a lot of people within our company who've been incredibly successful. And that point again on mentoring, you know, internally at Enterprise, we very much promote mentoring. And again, I've had a lot of mentors, and one thing that one of them has said to me that always stood out is, if not you, then who? And I thought that phrase was just fantastic, because if you don't go for that job, if you don't push yourself, then someone else is going to get it. But why should they? So I just thought I'd add that to that point. Sorry, Caroline, I think you've got another question.
No, it's okay, don't worry. I was just going to touch on what Hayley said, and one of the questions that we've been asked in the chat function, the question and answer function, is that you mentioned that you experienced a lot of rejections with your job applications, and I think there's, it's a really difficult time to be a graduate in the labour market at the minute, and I think a lot of students would love to know, how did you deal with these rejections and the frustration of finding out that another application this time hasn't been successful?
You know what, like, I have to be honest, it was really, really hard. So I think the first thing I'd say is that you're not alone. Like, if this is really messing with your self-esteem, your mental health even, it's very normal to feel that way. Like, I struggled even for the interview that I got for my dream job. I almost didn't go because I was so nervous and I was not in a good way, and like mentally, that I just thought, what's the point? So I think just acknowledge that that's totally fine, and hopefully there's support that you can access as well. That's something that I wish I did. But the other thing I would say is that this is really easy for me to say now, and I know that some of you will be thinking, oh, well, of course she's going to say that because it turned out all right for her. But honestly, like, the right thing will come. Even with like people that I mentor, they receive rejections, and I'm always saying to them, like, you're going to get the job that you deserve, or the job that you really want will come. So don't like beat yourself up over missing out on opportunities. I mean, some opportunities you might feel that you really want, and they can be the hardest ones to sort of let go of. But I think it is just about patience and being in the right place. But as well, if as much as you can, try and get feedback. So something that occurred to me recently, I was supporting like a woman who wants to break into the sports journalism space. And she was getting really frustrated. She applied to a lot of jobs, loads of rejections. And I said, okay, let me have a look at your CV. And she sent me her CV, and like, it was bad. And I was like, I feel really bad to say this to you, but I feel really happy that you showed me your CV, because now I know that this is the problem and that you're not the problem, and you're going to then hopefully improve your CV and get jobs. So don't be afraid to ask for help. It might just be something really silly that you've done, or it might be something that's really easy to fix, and that will improve your chances. So get advice from as many people, even if your parents, or just asking people who might support you to get that guidance is really key. You can't do it on your own.
Yeah, no, great points. And I think, most career services have fantastic resources for students to go to. And actually at 5:40 today, we have a session around mental health and wellbeing, where we pose exactly the same question to 3 mental health and wellbeing professionals. So if you're interested in that, please stick around and log on. I do have another question, which is now at the top of the leaderboard, so very popular. Sarah, I wonder if you want to pick this one up. No reflection on yourself, obviously, or how you're perceived, but I wonder if you want to sort of give your 2 pence worth on this. So we've got a question around how people are perceived and how women are perceived. So how do they make sure that they come across as leaders, as opposed to being boxed off and put into that bracket of being bossy? Do you think that's something that they take ownership of and how they go about it? Or do you think it's just one of those sort of workplace perceptions?
I think there is like a lot of perceptions about women in leadership positions. I mean, I just try and focus on developing relationships with people and giving feedback. I think Hayley, you touched on it there about how to, you know, I think one of the, not the problems with women, but the problems with lots of people is that they don't give feedback effectively. And so you end up coming, you know, you're trying to make a change, or you're trying to help another person make a change, and then you end up in, you know, causing more problems by not being able to give feedback in an effective way. So yeah, I mean, I don't think we showcase ourselves enough. I don't think, and you can do that by showcasing your team. If you're leading a team, you know, you don't have to say, oh, look at me, I'm fantastic, look at all this work I've done. You know, you can say, I try and big my team up and say, you know, look at what everyone's doing, a fantastic job. And by doing that, yeah, okay, but you don't become a leader to get all the plaudits. You know, the aim of leading people, well, you know, it's to bring people with you to try and get somewhere, you know, hopefully better than where you are now, and you know, and serving people, and not putting yourself up. That should just come as a byproduct of, is what I'm trying to say, of bigging your team up and developing your team, and you know, you'll be able to shine doing that anyway. But yeah, I don't know if that's answered the question as well, but hopefully it has.
Oh, sorry, Nikki, did you want to touch on this one?
Yeah, I was just thinking, I think it's just important that you have your own style, and you very much don't try to be what you think someone wants you to be, or what you should be as a leader. And I think it always comes back to that confidence thing again. I don't know, we sort of say it, but you have to find your own inner self. And I think if you try and be something you're not, or the vision you think a leader should be, you will automatically fail, and you will be perceived to be something you're probably not. So I think it's important to really think about your own skills and what makes you good as a person. And that, you know, a saying I like to use a lot is, a lion doesn't need to tell you it's a lion. You'll know that. You'll work with the person, and you'll demonstrate your skill set, and you'll evidence that. And I think people will then come along with you, and they'll see that you have that skill set, and they'll want to be part of your team. And I think that's really important, that you try and just be you. And I think there's a comment very much around Hayley's comment, you're enough. You just use your skill set.
Definitely. Oh, sorry, Evelyn.
I was just going to build on what Nikki said. So I absolutely agree with everything that's just been said. I guess a little story, if you like. So when I first was applying for roles as a graduate, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I applied to the police, I applied to Inland Revenue, and I applied to FMCG companies as well, all in terms of doing sales programs. And I did the police assessment centre. And I thought, right, I need to be like this. And it was the most horrific 3 days of my life. I absolutely hated it, because I was being who I thought they wanted me to be during the course of the assessment centre. And when I got to the feedback session, she said, I'm really sorry to tell you you've not been successful. And I was like, oh, thank God for that, because I was like, there's no way I could do this forever. This would be awful. Because, you know, you spend a lot of your life at work, you know. So then my next assessment centre was Nessa, and I was like, right, I am just going to relax. I'm just going to be me, and I'm just going to enjoy myself. And that's what I did. And I think, you know, this comes back to Nikki's point. Being a leader is about being authentic. It's about knowing who you are, understanding, you know, what your strengths are, but also what you're not, because that's what makes me who I am. And I can't be anybody else, and I don't want to be anybody else. And actually, I bring the best of me when I'm all of me. And, you know, at times, yes, I might need to change my style. You know, I don't know how much, you know, as students you understand about kind of different preferences, but we use what we call colour energies. And, you know, I don't have a lot of what I would call fiery red, bossy energy in me. But when I need to do it, I do it, because if something needs doing, I need to flex my style as a leader, but I do it in a way that's comfortable to me. And if I'm doing something outside my comfort zone, I would just say, look, this isn't my natural style, but, you know, and that way I feel like I'm always being true to me. So I think, you know, as a woman, as a man, as anyone, you know, the critical thing is to just know who you are and just be authentic to yourself as a leader, and then people will want to work with you.
Fantastic, thank you. I think that really nicely kind of segues into kind of like a closing round of statements, I suppose, from all of us. Like, I love the quote that you said, Evelyn, where you said you're the best you when you're all of you. And I think that would be a great way to finish, if we could share reflections on what would be the one piece of advice that you could give yourself if you went all the way back to the start of your career, that you would love to tell yourselves, but also maybe worth telling the students in our audience today. Evelyn, I don't know if you want to start, just because we just heard that from you. I'm so sorry. You're looking at me like, please no.
I'll try to be really quick.
Have a couple. You treat yourself. You can have as many as you like.
Very quickly then. So when I was 17, I got engaged. I did my A-levels. I thought, oh, well, I may as well go to university. So I went to university, I did chemistry. I got a first. I didn't want to go into chemistry. I was a bit hubble bubble, toil and trouble with a white coat on, and I thought, this just isn't me. But my life's ambition was to be an army wife, to have children, and I was going to paint nails. And I do paint my nails. I paint my own, which is quite handy in a lockdown. But that was what I aspired to. And then all of a sudden, I got on Nestlé's graduate program, and I was like, wow, you know, maybe I could do something with my life. So I think, for me, the biggest piece of advice I give myself back then is, it comes back to Hayley's point around being enough, and is something I'm still grappling with. It links back to childhood. But I think that the biggest thing is just believe in your ability and aspire to those dreams that you have, and go for it. Find people who'll support you, and don't be afraid, and feel the fear anyway, and just go for it and try it, and you'll achieve things way beyond your wildest dreams.
Fantastic, thank you. I love that. Feel the fear and do it anyway. That is a brilliant quote. Nabila, I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts on this too.
I completely agree with Evelyn. You know, I believe that the barriers exist for everyone, not just women. You know, there will always be people out there who judge us based on our age, our gender, the color of our skin, and so many other things. We have limited influence on this, but we can influence how it makes us feel and what we do about it. So my advice would be, don't let it get to you, and don't let it stop you. If you want to achieve something, keep trying until you get there. Multiple roads lead to the same place. And, you know, our minds can often be the worst barrier of all if we can't overcome what people might think or might say of us. You know, from experience, I know that all barriers represent opportunity. So we must continuously challenge ourselves to break them. So, you know, as Evelyn said, believe in yourself, challenge yourself, and most importantly, don't be afraid to fail. If you aren't failing once in a while, you aren't aiming high enough.
Fantastic, thank you. And then Nikki, same question. Oh, gonna say those dreaded word, Nikki. You're on mute.
Oh dear, is there a prize for that?
I hope so.
I think for me, I'd probably say to myself, don't stay in a bad or dead end situation for too long. It's a bit some Nabila's point almost about failure. Sometimes, so don't, if something's not working for you, if it's not fulfilling you, challenging you, inspiring you, you have a choice. And I think Evelyn said earlier, you have a choice. Take that choice. So it's okay sometimes to stop, have a rethink and a change of direction. It doesn't necessarily mean you failed anything. It just means you're taking a check and you're taking control of your destiny. But sometimes I think I probably stayed too long on something. And I think, Laura, you said a great thing. It says, you know, if not you, who? And I think there's also, if not now, when? You know, sometimes your chance is there, take it.
Definitely. Thank you, Nikki. And then Sarah.
Yeah, I think like my mantra is, you know, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so, you know, things there'll always be stuff that goes wrong. And so for me, it's about how you're looking at the situations. If you go into a situation like with a negative attitude to it, more than likely it's gonna, you know, you're not gonna be able to get something positive out of it. So yeah, so that's my mantra to impart. And also, if anyone gets the chance to read a book that really sort of opened my eyes, it's called The Chimp Paradox by Professor Steve Peters, and that's such an amazing read if anyone wants a book recommend.
I'm sure we've all got some extra time on our hands, seeing as our social calendars have rapidly decreased. No, thank you so much. I know there's been some fantastic quotes in this panel. I'm sure my digital engagement manager at Actors UK is writing them all down furiously to share them. And then Hayley, same question.
I feel like there's definitely a theme here, but I think for me, you know, I genuinely believe that I can do anything I put my mind to, and I wish I knew that when I was younger, apart from maths. Actually, I'm just going to put it out there and say, because if any of my friends are watching this, they'll be like, Hayley, stop lying, you can't do maths. But something that I learned along the way was to not make decisions based on fear. So there's actually research that says that when you make a decision that stems from fear, so it might be accepting a job, even applying for a job, it's probably likely that it's not going to be the right thing for you. And when we let our minds lead us with fear, like, oh, what if I'm never going to get a job, so I'm going to apply to 10 jobs and hope that one of them is the one for me, you don't really put your all in it. Or turn up to an interview and spending so much time over preparing on such a small thing because you fear that you might get this aspect wrong, you will miss out on something else. And I think the point that Nikki made around like staying to some places for too long, like there's definitely been so many times when people have said to me, Hayley, you should do your own thing, you should start your own business, or Hayley, you're really passionate about like sport and football and diversity, why don't you do something about it? And I never thought that I would, because I thought, oh, I might look stupid, I might get it wrong. And the day I just decided, yeah, I'm going to do it, and I put that fear aside and put the opportunity and the hope at the forefront, everything sort of started to fall into place. So I would just say to everyone, especially if you're starting out, like, don't make any decisions based on fear. Like, you will get there in the end. You've got to lean towards hope, positivity and opportunity.
Thank you, Hayley. And then she's probably going to hate me for this, but Laura, I'd love to ask you the same question as all our panelists. If you could impart your words of wisdom too, this is your opportunity.
I think I've just got to reiterate what I said before. It's not something that's been my mantra for very long, but it's certainly something that I plan on living by. And it's if not you, then who, you know. And if I'm honest, you know, the things that I've heard today, you know, I had a page ready for my takeaways for this whole event, and it's full already. So, you know, there's been so many inspiring quotes and so much, you know, information that's come through just from this panel, that there are, you know, contrary kind of pieces of advice flying around my head. But yeah, I'm going to stick with my if not you, then who. Put yourself forward, because if you don't, it can't happen. Come on, Caroline, it's your turn.
Oh my goodness, this is a nightmare. Tables have turned. I think I am quite new into my career. I don't have to impart the same amount of wisdom as everybody else, but I would just echo that. Like, I think there is a lot of things that we put ourselves into. I thought I was going to be a secondary school teacher up until the moment I graduated, and then went, oh no, I don't think I do want to teach. And then I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? And I think it's just being open to opportunities. And if you, like, please don't worry if you don't get that one dream job that you think you're going to land. It's important to, whichever job you go into, maybe it's not going to be the job that you want to do forever, but you will gain those skills and those experiences that will help you get a step further in the ladder on the way to where you want to be. So just be open to any opportunities. And I am going to plug every an Actors opportunity that I possibly can, because it wouldn't be an event with an Actors UK if I didn't talk about it. But you know, a lot of people have degrees now. That is the way of the world. And we are so lucky to be in a position where we are able to go to university. But sometimes the degree needs to be supplemented with something. So I would say take those opportunities. And then Actors UK is one of those opportunities that you can take as a student. So get involved. I think there's going to be an advert later on, but if it isn't an actors, then like the amazing women in this panel have said, take any opportunities that you can get, because the more you put into things, the more you will get out from them. So Laura, back to you in the studio.
That's a great point, in the studio. Thank you, Caroline, for handing over. Great point, Caroline, and I think, you know, you've had your plug, but I am going to back you up there. As a graduate recruiter, you're right. We see a lot of people come through with their degree, and that's fantastic. And I'm sure, you know, the vast majority have gained a lot through those studies, but you need more. You need more. You need other experiences, whether it just be a part-time job, volunteering, a society, and an actress is a fantastic way to do that. So don't let that pass you by. I just want to say a massive thank you. I want to say an absolutely enormous thank you to you fantastic panelists for the inspiring, inspirational, you know, information that you've given us, for sharing your experiences, for giving us all of those nuggets to take away. I, like I say, have got reams of takeaways already at this early point in the event. So thank you, thank you, thank you.